6 years ago, I went into my first farmland auction and nobody bid against me, and I got this. Every September, I come down to our farm. I'm a deer hunter and I need to make sure all my tree stands are safe. I make sure my lifelines are safe. I make sure my straps are safe. And I also put batteries in my reveal cameras to make sure those are all working properly so that I can see what kind of deer I have on our property. I also get to see a ton of other animals. But this property right here, it had an auction sign up on it in 2018. This property was owned by my grandparents, and it was owned by their parents before them. It was in our family for nearly 100 years. It was about 95 years. I grew up hunting this. I helped my dad on this farm. This field right here was ours all my life. Well, in early 2000s, my grandparents passed away. My dad could not buy it at the time, so he owns about 400 acres right across the highway. My aunt sold this property way back when. I came down and I saw an auction sign up. I called my dad up. My dad's like, what in the world? He was supposed to call me. All upset, jumped in his car, drove out here. It's about 10 minutes from town because he lives in town now. He's retired. And by the time he got here, he said, I called the banker. We're good to go to the auction and buy it. I'm like, sweet. I'm excited. I'm going to partner up with my dad on this 160 acres. About 2 weeks before the auction, Dad calls me up and says, well, I don't want to take that risk. You're going to have to buy it yourself. Of course, I start sweating, have a conversation with my wife. We both said, let's go for it. I come down to the auction and I see all the farmers that I've grown up with. They're old school farmers. They got old school cash. I'm like, there's no chance in hell I'm getting this farm. They start the auction. First bid, raise my hand. Nobody else is bidding against me. I got this sucker at $4,500 an acre. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? They call timeout, go in the back, they talk a little bit, and they come back out and they open the bid back up. And I'm thinking, yeah, I got this farm. I look up and he's like, you want it? And I'm like, yeah. So all of a sudden they open the bid back up. I start bidding again. Now there's someone bidding against me in the back. I'm like, what's happening? Well, later find out it was the bank. So the bank had a representative down bidding against me. They bid me up to $5,600 an acre. And I'm like, okay, $5,600 an acre. It's $100 more an acre than I wanted to spend. The bank quit bidding and I got it. So basically I got this property for a foreclosure price, and all the old farmers that were in there, they knew me, they knew my dad, and they just let me have it. I was just blown away. I mean, it was one of the greatest moments. I get goosebumps talking about it right now. But that was in 2018. I still have this farm. My long-term goal is I want to put this farm back with the 400 acres and put our entire farm back together, because you know what? That one's been in our family for well over 100 years. I want this one to be back in with it, and that's what we're doing, and I'm super excited about that. It was a year after I bought it. This tree right here, it was like everything just came together. I got the farm, my first rut that I was able to hunt it. I shoot a 160-inch deer on we used to call this a 160. The deer was 160 inches. It was such a fantastic story. But I'm back, and every year I come down here in September, and it is just the best feeling to have my boots on our dirt that my family had for a long, long time. Well, that's my story. I'm so blessed to be down here. Someday I'm going to be able to give it to my kids. And it's just something that I'm always going to do. And I'm always going to rent this to a smaller farmer. I'm not giving in to the big farmers that are going to come in and tear the ground up. The people who we have farming it right now, farm my dads, are a fantastic family. Their son's going to take over their farming when they're done. It's a husband and wife and their son. I love it. If something happens on this farm, they just fix it and tell me, hey, we got that taken care of. So you can't beat that. You don't get that kind of care for a farm with those big corporate farmers. At least not typically. It can happen, but I'm excited about what we have going on, and you know what? I'll give you more updates every year, but I'm here and I'm in heaven.